Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed episode 1 and our deep dive into identity. In episode 1, we discussed how our identity is shaped through the health we are born with, our family, siblings, careers, culture, and the geographical location before we make it to our 40s. Have you picked your one-word label yet? If not, no rush. You still have time. Now, let's get to episode 2. We continue the conversation on who am I now in my 40s. Let's explore that together. This time, we will start peeling back the layers of our identity to get a little closer to the real us underneath by looking at the masks we wear. Not the kind of mask we use for fun or safety, but the kind we wear daily, often unconsciously or sometimes intentionally. These masks shape our behavior, choices, and even self-perception. The mask enables us to cover our true feelings and present something else to ourselves and to the world. We smile when we want to cry. We say, "I'm fine," when we are falling apart. We act strong when we are actually exhausted. That is a mask, the emotional one. And let's be clear, masks aren't good or bad. This isn't about judgment. This is about awareness. What are these masks? Why are they there? How long we can sustain wearing these masks? And what happens if they come off? That's what we are here to explore. Let's pause for a second. Do you think you wear a mask? How many masks do you think you have? 1, 2, a whole collection? I want to know what masks you have noticed in yourself. If you are willing to share, drop them in the comments. And hey, while you're at it, share your favorite facial masks too. While we are here doing the inner work, let's swap a few glow-up secrets too. Let's be real. Who doesn't love vibrant, glowing skin? Let me explain more what I mean by these emotional masks. Sometimes the masks we wear are molded by the roles or titles we have taken on. Not just the ones assigned to us, but the ones we have accepted without question. We slip into this successful professional mask, where vulnerability has no place. We live as the devoted mother, the reliable friend, or the ambitious go-getter, even when these roles don't tell the full story of who we are. And sometimes the masks aren't tied to the roles at all. They are shaped by our emotions. We wear the "I'm fine" mask, brushing off our pain to avoid burdening others. We cling to the "strong one" mask, pretending we have it all together, even as we struggle inside. We put on the happy face mask, smiling brightly, while sadness lingers beneath. We slip into the people pleaser mask, silencing our needs to keep the peace. Some of us hide behind the cool and detached mask, acting indifferent to protect our hearts from being hurt. Others armor themselves with the perfectionist mask, trying to outrun feelings of inadequacy through flawless achievement. We become the caretaker, tending to everyone else's emotions while burying our own deeper and deeper. We force the optimist at all costs mask, searching for the silver linings when what we really need is permission to grieve. We lose ourselves in the busy bee mask, staying in constant motion to avoid facing the feelings that stillness might surface. And when life hardens us, we reach for the tough skin mask, masking tenderness with sarcasm and detachment. Each of these emotional masks begin as protection, a survival tool, but over time they create distance, not only from others, but from our truest selves. Taking them off isn't easy. It asks us to sit with what we have long avoided, and to welcome the raw, imperfect, beautiful truths waiting underneath. These masks are shaped in our 20s and 30s, molded by expectations, survival, heartbreaks, work, culture, motherhood, fear, and the desire to be accepted. Over time, we collect them. One for work, one for family, one for social events, one for when we need to hold it together even if we are unraveling inside. And we get good at switching between them. The emotional masks we wear, whether to seem strong, selfless, unbothered, or endlessly fine, often disrupt the natural balance between our feminine and masculine energy. These masks can mute the feminine energy that longs to rest, feel, create, and receive. Or they can block the masculine energy that wants to act, lead, and speak with clarity. Both feminine and masculine energies live with every human, regardless of sex. The key is not in choosing one, but in cultivating a balance that feels aligned with us. This balance isn't fixed. It shifts with our chapters, our needs, our experiences, and our truths. It's not about performing what's expected. It is about listening inward and honoring what supports our wholeness. The challenge is finding a balance between the two that actually feels good and true to us. Peeling back those masks isn't just about being more authentic. It is about reconnecting with a more balanced, whole version of ourselves. Masks don't hide our emotions. They block our identity. When we take off the mask, we give our real self space to finally breathe, to show up, to be seen. And no matter what that looks like, messy, soft, bold, quiet, then it will feel real. It feels authentic. Because for the first time, it's not a performance. It is real us. We all wore masks. Some of us still do. And now we can't take them off. Because we have worn them so long, we forgot they are not the true us. For some, the mask is chasing perfection. For others, it's job title, the perfect marriage, the perfect body. To go deeper, I'll use myself as an example because this work starts with honesty. I have spent years wearing a certain mask, so well fitted that I forgot it was even there. I am sharing what my mask looks like for me and how I feel about it now, not to overshare, but to open the door so you can start thinking about yours. For me, my mask was a smile. That polished, practiced, I'm fine. Even when I wasn't, especially when I wasn't. I wore my smile like an armor. Polished, automatic, always ready. I used it at work, with family, at events, always upbeat, always capable, always pleasant. I thought that's what strong women do. We keep it together. We don't break. We don't cry. We don't burden anyone. I smiled when I was sad. I smiled when I wanted to scream. I smiled when I should have cried. It became my way of coping, not with joy, but with everything else. I think deep down, it was my fighting mechanism, my way of pushing the truth aside. Because sometimes the truth was just too heavy to carry out loud. So instead of feeling it, understanding it, or dealing with it, I buried it under a smile. It was pure survival, not happiness. And I got really good at it. So good that even the people closest to me couldn't tell when I was struggling. That smile said, "Don't worry about me. I've got it." But the truth, I didn't always got it. I just didn't know how not to be fine and be real. Somewhere along the way, being emotionally invisible became my safety zone. And it worked. Until it didn't. Until the way got too heavy and smiling through it started to feel like betrayal, not to others, but to myself. At first, I couldn't quite name the discomfort, just a lingering sense of being stuck, unwell, not fully myself. For years, that feeling followed me around like a background noise. Only later in life I grasped that this unease wasn't random. It was the way of an emotional mask I had been carrying for too long. Honestly, I can't pinpoint the exact moment everything changed, but I know it happened slowly as I approached my 40s. Somewhere in that space, I started letting my face reflect what I actually felt. I began noticing my urge to reach for my mask and chose little by little not to. I let my words come out, the ones my heart had been holding in for years. It was terrifying, but also incredibly freeing. One day, my husband looked at me and asked, "Why aren't you smiling?" And the reality hit me. He wasn't being unkind. He was just used to my mask. My mask had trained people around me to expect me to be cheerful, no matter what. That day, I didn't smile just to meet the expectation. I let myself be quiet, be still, be real, and something shifted. That moment brought clarity. I finally realized what the emotional mask truly meant for me. When I was laid off recently from the project I had poured my heart into for years, I smiled through that. At first I said, "It's fine, everything is fine." But inside something cracked, not in a dramatic breakdown kind of way, more like a quiet unraveling. And in that space, I found myself once more tempted to slip back into behind my mask. Why am I so afraid to just be honest? Why do I need to wear this smile? That was the beginning of shedding the mask. The greatest danger of wearing a mask isn't just that we hide from others. It's that we begin to hide from ourselves. We silence our own truths. We bury our real emotions so deeply that we forget how to feel them at all. The mask becomes a quiet form of self-betrayal, a way to cope, but one that slowly disconnects us from our true selves. Taking the mask off isn't a simple act. It is an act of bravery. It asks us to stand bare and trembling before the mirror of our own soul. Then accept, without flinching, whatever rises to the surface. To let it breathe, to let it be, and to believe that is enough. And accept who we truly are. I know this because if I hadn't recognized the mask I was wearing, if I hadn't dared to face my own soul in that mirror, I would have never started this series. I was afraid to share my voice, my words, my truths with the world. But my soul had been quietly screaming for it all along. Maybe it's because my soul has always craved connection. The kind that happens when we speak honestly, without masks. Maybe this series is my soul's way of seeking happiness through unity. Maybe for me, the meaning of life is sharing what's inside me in kindness and truth. I used to fear the desire of my soul, worried it might make me strange or misunderstood. I was afraid of the world judgment. But if speaking with you, sharing these thoughts, and showing up fully makes my soul feel seen and alive, then let me be a little weird and let it be, because maybe that is the whole point. The unmasking begins with a harsh truth. Being you, really you, takes courage. The first step is radical self-acceptance. Only then can the truth be shared with the world. It is only in the unmasking that we begin the true work of becoming ourselves. And for women in our 40s, this moment matters more than ever. After decades of bending, shaping, pleasing, surviving, we are called now to unbecome everything that isn't real us. To peel back the layers, to meet the raw, unfiltered self underneath, and to finally, fiercely live as the woman we always wanted to be deep down. Whole, wild, unmasked, free. Nowadays, my smile comes from a more honest place. They are smaller, maybe, but they are real. And the amazing part is people seem to smile back even more. Maybe because they can feel the truth behind my smile. Or maybe because when we let go of performing, we give others permission to do the same. Taking off that mask has given me wings. There is a lightness in showing up as I really am. It feels like freedom, like I can finally breathe in my own skin. No more pretending, no more performance, just me. This is the heart of my journey now. It is not about reinvention, but rediscovery. Beneath these layers of roles, resilience, routines, and blah, 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 there is me. And I want to share this journey with you. And maybe you are asking the same thing. Who am I now in my 40s without my mask? By 40, you have likely spent decades trying to be fine. You have smiled through heartbreaks, smiled through pressure, smiled through complete exhaustion, because that's what we were taught. Be pleasant, be resilient. Don't make a scene. But now, we know better. We know that smiling through pain isn't strength, it is survival. And there comes a point when survival is not enough anymore. We want truth. We want space to say, actually, I'm not fine today. And we want to be real. In our 40s, there is this beautiful, terrifying freedom that starts to rise. A freedom our soul had been craving for years. The freedom to stop performing, to stop being just fine, just to keep the peace, and to finally dare to want what we truly desire. The mask served you once. Now it might be the time to let it go. Now that we have unpacked the idea, if any of this resonated with you and your feelings, let's try to connect with it more deeply. Now, take out your journal or your note app. This week, take some time to think about your masks. Do you have an emotional mask? What is your version of mask? How many masks do you have? When did you start wearing it and why? What would it look like for you to take it off, even for a moment? And if you are feeling braver, try this. Pick one moment this week to not wear your mask. Just one honest moment for you, not anyone else. Stop yourself when you want to put it on. Wait, observe. Let your soul resurface. Let you be you. Let yourself speak with your truth, even if it is small. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be real. If you do this, be very proud of yourself. It is not easy. Oh, believe me, I know. Taking off the mask means stepping out of our comfort zone and facing the reality we have spent years protecting ourselves from. But it is also how we start coming home to ourselves. Gradually, gently, one unmasked moment at a time. We have made it to our 40s, and many of us have done it wearing many masks. Not out of deception, but survival. We shaped ourselves into who we needed to be for work, for family, for love, for safety. That mask helped us navigate the life. It protected us, gave us approval, and kept things running. But now, it might be keeping us from ourselves. Because somewhere along the way, the mask started to blur the lines between who we are and who we perform to be. And maybe this is the decade we finally ask, who am I underneath this mask? Today's conversation is especially close to my heart because this topic, this idea of mask, played such a huge role into my own path of self-discovery. I cannot wait to hear your stories. The times you took the mask off, what happened? Who panicked? Who noticed? And let's be honest, who absolutely didn't know what to do with the unfiltered version of you? Share your stories with us if you like. Share your moments, the brave, the awkward, and the liberating ones. And next week, we continue this discussion together. Who am I now in my 40s when it comes to our career? Is our career what defines us? See you all then.